Hi everyone, it's Christine. I'm usually on this channel talking about all the books that I've read, but today is a little bit of a different type of video because I'm going to show you my 2023 reading journal. I did already do a video showing my brand new 2024 reading journal, but I had some requests to show a flip through of my old one, my 2023, that is now complete and ready to be put away, just so we could see what the rest of the spreads look like throughout the months, as opposed to just the beginning bit of the journal. So without further ado, let's just get into it. I do like to kind of preface this with saying that I am not an artistic person. I wish I were, but yeah, I rely heavily on prints and stickers and things that are already pre-made by people who are quite talented, unlike myself. So a lot of this you'll see in this particular journal I used from Planners Anonymous, which is a planner and stationery company out of Australia, and this was like, I think it was called their book lovers kit. I had some washi, some vellum, little library card there that I wanted to use. And this first spread, I'm going to be talking about the spreads that worked for me and the ones that didn't work for me quite so well, or ones that maybe I tweaked a little bit. This spread I absolutely did love. This is 23 to read in 2023, pretty standard for a reading journal. But as you could see, I checked off the ones I read and I did not read very many. I just had a hard time balancing all of the book clubs and readathons and things like that and trying to fit some of these into those. So in 2024, I decided to do 12, just one for each month. And then all of the books that I didn't read, I did carry over into that so that they're kind of like bonus books. But I do like how these look all printed out. This was a spread I did to try to track all the books that I was bringing into my home. At the beginning of the year, I was very much a book box subscriber, and as much as I love them, I've had to cut back on a lot of the book boxes that I subscribe to just for money reasons and because I was getting really behind in reading what I was bringing in. So this was my way to kind of track which book I got from which box each month, and then you could tell that I highlighted to kind of correlate with whichever book I got or book box I got. And I did a little Dutch door situation here, which I did really end up liking. However, I don't know if you could see that I cut too close to the edge, which did kind of lift this page, but it stayed together the whole year, so I can't really complain. But in my new journal, I did just take these Dutch doors and let them go all the way to the top and then made kind of a wavy edge to it, just so that I wouldn't be too tempted to go close to the end there. So this was a great way to have all of these months in here and you could just flip through. This was a genre tracker that I've tried a couple different ways now. This was a new way to try it in 2023 compared to my 2022 journal. And I did like a bar graph situation so I could get a better visual. But as you could tell, my first mistake was that I only gave horror one row, and then I had to add more here because I definitely read more horror than anything else. It was nice to see some other genres in here, but then sadly I didn't read everything. But I decided to kind of leave this out of my next journal. It didn't really serve a purpose. What I did in this one, in the 2024, you could see in my other video, which I will link down below, I did like a pixel type thing where it's keeping track of how many books I read, and then I just colored in the numbers according to the genre. This is another spread I did end up carrying over to my new journal. It is just a way for me to, this was the backlog of books. Don't judge me, okay? Don't judge. This was my backlog of books when I started the year from these different book boxes as it was. And then you could see I like put in a line where I was just adding in new ones. And I did carry this over into my next journal because I really want to focus on reading what I own, reading all the money that I put towards these books and these book boxes. And then I can decide once I catch up, I was going to say if I catch up, but I want to say once I catch up, if I am going to resub to some of these boxes again. And then here's another spread that I definitely carried over into next year. This is also pretty standard for any reading journal. It is just a book of the year, like, what do you call it, bracket. I already just made the exact same one for this year, but I have seen other people have better ideas, and I think I want to incorporate that into the following year, where they took things like January and February and picked a winner. But then they also took February and March and picked a winner, and it gave like February a better chance, or whatever month, right? Because I had a hard time deciding between these 2 months. And then I didn't have such a hard time with March, because while I liked it, it was just a 4-star book as compared to other 5-star books. So you see what I'm saying? It would just give the books that I really loved a better chance to like be in the running towards the end. I suppose in the end it ends up the same, but I liked that idea, and I think when I make my next one in 2025, I will incorporate that idea. This was my first time doing this spread. This was just a year at a glance type situation where I just stamped out all of the months, and then I used it to keep track of different readathons and book club picks, and I did carry this on over into the next year. And what I did was I highlighted each to keep track of whose was whose, and I think I could probably improve on that. But I do like having a year at a glance just so I knew if I was over committing to reading too many things, which seems to be a problem for me anyway. Then these spreads, I liked the idea of picking like a seasonal TBR and kind of just putting down books that I thought would fit into different seasons. And it worked out okay. I think it depended on the season. I did find spring kind of a hard one to do. It's easy to pick like winter books for me and fall books and even summer books, but spring, not so much. Maybe it's just because of the type of reader I am. So I didn't really get to a lot of these. I like the idea still, but I did not yet put this in my next journal. We'll see how I feel about it. I think that my problem is that I want to read all the things and do all the things, but there's not enough time for all of the things. So I have to kind of pick and choose which ones I'm going for. And then last year I did start off with the Read What You Own challenge, and I think I technically got to 17, and then I tried to like say, oh, but I read these other ones later. And yeah, I don't know. I have a much more focused Read What You Own challenge for this year, and I think I'm going to be more successful because of it. And again, I have a whole video with that, so I won't get into it, but you can check that out if you'd like to. And then this was me just listing every single book I read and then kind of color coding the months. So like all the January ones I highlighted blue, February was pink, etc. And I did do this in my next journal, but what I saw somebody else do that I think I want to do moving forward is keeping this back part the same and then making these Dutch doors that you flip through. I just thought that was a good idea. So then I also color coded my stars, and you could tell I ran out of room here. I didn't think I was going to read more than 115 books. So really just at the end of the year, I tacked in this page, and I know it's kind of half-assed, but at this point I was ready to move on to 2024. So it's okay. It's in there for completeness sake, but okay. And here is the part where we get into the monthly layouts. And basically what I did was I made 2 pages for each month, and I just kind of decorated with stickers or what have you. And then usually I would do any prompts I had here. At this point, I was just getting into BookTube, and this was my last month of doing this Reading Rivalry, which was like a Facebook group that had different prompts for like reading challenges, and you'd be on a team and get points. So this was my last month of that, but this is where I wrote down all those prompts. It was a lot easier to keep track of. And then I kind of wrote as I read them just to keep track which ones I did. And then I would always use the second page to do my reading wrap up. So I would write down everything that I read, and I would be able to then report that or have one place to look at everything I read in the month. pretty simple. I had also started doing, and you'll see that this did not last very long, is I thought at the end of each month I would dedicate a page to decorating for my favorite book of that month. So my favorite book of January was A Dowry of Blood, and I had all of these stickers that really kind of fit the aesthetic of the book, and I wanted to use them somewhere, and there were a lot of quotes that I really liked from that book, so I wrote them in there. My writing is nothing special, so it is what it is. But I found that unless I was really excited about a book, I was not as likely to make one of these pages. So this only lasted 2 months. And part of what doing like a reading journal or any journal is kind of figuring out what works for you, and what you want to carry on with, and trying new things. So it was trying something new. So then I decorated for February. This was another kit from Planners Anonymous. And I wasn't doing any reading challenges, but I did have a few things I wanted to participate in here. So my list was not as long as this page really needed, but I had a few book clubs I wanted to do, and then reading wrap up what I ended up reading in the end. And then this was my first month of trying this. I don't know why it's at the end of February, probably because I decided to do it later. But I thought I would do like a monthly calendar, and I'm not honestly sure what I was thinking. I think that I was at one point thinking of using this for a planner and a reading journal, and I just realized that wasn't working. So as you can see, I really didn't use this. However, that said, you'll see when I get to December, I brought this back and I have carried it forward into 2024. I had to think about that. Just to kind of, I'll explain later, but yeah. And then this was my favorite book of February for this year. And as you could see, I have a very childlike version of decorations, I guess. But I think it fit this book. So this was the last time I did a page dedicated to a book that I loved. I had this art card that came with my book, and I had to make a squirrel nativity scene on Canva to represent some of the craziness in this book. And then March, again, I used an Australian-based Planners Anonymous kit that I had. I basically have a lot of these kits, and then I didn't really know what to do with a lot of papers and things like that. Like I used the stickers, but so I used a lot of the papers and art cards and stuff in this journal because I like the art. I just didn't know what to do with them. But yeah, again, just TBR prompts and then my reading wrap up. And then you'll see a blank page in between each because then I kind of stopped doing that. April was Old School April, which is a readathon where we look back at our childhood and read things that inspire us from that time period. For me, it's when I think about my childhood, a lot of video games and Fear Street and things like that. And this one had a lot of prompts, so I wrote them in here so I could keep track. Again, my reading wrap up, but this one had a lot more prompts because we had bonus prompts and we had watch-a-thon prompts, and I was able to keep track of a lot of this stuff in here. Otherwise, my brain would have been all over the place. So this was just a fun place to keep all that together, and it's fun to kind of look back and see what I watched and whatnot. And then I think May is where you start to notice that I had less and less time to decorate my planner. So I had this art card I stuck in here, and you definitely can tell like the ebbs and flows when it comes to how much time I was spending at work. June, I tried to go for like a Greek god theme / I don't know, underwater theme. And by all the blankness, you could see I just had less and less time. And then we had Summerween, and I did buy all these stickers from Gabby's sister's shop, which I thought were adorable. I love the art style as well as the color scheme for Summerween, and that's where I kept track of that. And then we also had Christmas Evil in July. which was another readathon. And it had watch prompts and Instagram prompts. And then we have Garbogust, which was a lot of fun. And they had prompts as well as different like themed weeks. And I just had fun with the spread being ridiculous. And then September. I had no time in September. September is where I kind of came to the head of my stress with my job. And I ended up quitting my job in September, but you can kind of tell because I had no time to decorate, even though I love fall. I did participate in a carnival readathon, which was, you know, carnival themed. So I had these carnival themed stickers. So that was fun. And then I quit my job at the end of September, and you could tell I had a lot more time on my hands for October. So plus October is October. You got to go all out, right? So I had this fun bat vellum paper, and I had all these rub-ons that I got from the dollar store, which I had a lot of fun with. And so I did a section for book clubs, and then Halloween, which was a lot of fun. And then my wrap up. I really liked the idea of this spread. I guess I thought I was going to read a lot of witchy books in October, and I ended up not reading a ton. I think I only read Slewfoot this month and Cackle in November, but I do like this idea, and I might do some spreads in my new journal as I go along, just kind of like keeping track of certain genres. So I could have like witchy books or underwater horror or winter horror, that kind of thing, where I can just look back when people are like, oh, hey, do you recommend a certain book? I have a horrible memory, so it would be nice to look back and be like, oh yeah, I did like these witchy books, or, you know, whatever genre. So I think I might carry that forward because that was kind of fun. And then November, I tried to do a little bit of a door situation, I guess. And then I absolutely love the artwork in these fall. This was again from Planners Anonymous, and to me, these are all like November colors. So my last chance to use all the fall things. And then, like I was saying, for December, I had used, this was actually just a printout, I believe from Notebook Therapy. I think if you're on their mailing list, they'll mail you a calendar every month, and you can just print it out. And I used it as a way to keep track of what I wanted to post or make videos. So this kind of helped me keep track of, do I have enough videos to post twice a week, or what ideas, where to kind of place them, maybe future ideas, things like that. So moving forward, I am doing this in 2024 because I found it quite useful. And then I did this readathon, which was to see if you were naughty or nice. So there was like a list of naughty prompts and a list of nice prompts, and I kind of tallied it at the end, and surprise, surprise, by 1 point, I was on the naughty list. And then my last wrap up of the year is right here. And then I did end up with more pages here, but not enough to like have another thing, because towards the back, I did use it for taking notes and like idea dump type things. So yeah, I hope that helps if you're wondering what I did with the rest of my journal as far as the months go. Hopefully I will have more time to keep up with making them really pretty each month, but I am ready to retire this and put it on the shelf and just move forward. So you could see that it gets quite thick from all the papers and stuff that I put in there, but it holds up pretty well. So yeah, this was a Notebook Therapy journal. But that is all I have to show you today. I thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next spooky book themed video. Thank you. Stay spooky.